Hey guys, welcome to Lake Forest Disc Golf Course.
Yeah.
Good to be out here. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
In progress. Appreciate everybody coming out, and we do these weekly clinics, and we've been rotating them so far. One week we'll talk about putting, focus on that. 1 week up shots and other things, trick shots, sidearm stuff, saves, and then distance. Distance is always fun. With distance, there's a lot that goes into throwing a successful distance drive. One thing we can start off with is maxing out the flight of the disc. There's a couple parts to this. There's like having the right disc things happening, and then the body things to be able to make the disc do that. The disc, maxing out the disc, getting the most out of the disc. So the one thing that I saw Simon do that was really amazing is he was able to, well, he can throw really, really high. So he's getting it up really, 3 times as far the height of this net, 4 times, I don't know, he's throwing it so high. And typically when you throw really high, it's just gonna kind of stall out and come back like this. Well, so a couple things has to happen. He's getting the nose of the disc really far down, right? To be able to still throw it up and have it turn. Also, he's choosing a disc that he can get to turn over even after he's thrown it pretty high and pretty far. So it was amazing how late his discs were turning. He was throwing discs with hyzer high in the air that you think are just gonna spike, right? But as they're going up, now it's starting to turn to the right, and now it has this long ride down. So that's what I'll refer to as a 3-turn shot, as opposed to a 2-turn shot. What some of the younger players were doing, and I don't know if it was just because they didn't have the right discs, because distance discs are often different than the typical golf disc. They were throwing what I call 2-turn shot. So it's evident that they had a nice stable destroyer or something that they were pulling over with anhyzer, and it would come like this and then fade out, and they're missing part of that flight. To have a disc that's a little less overstable than maybe you'd normally golf with, so that way that you can throw it up and it's going to want to turn on its own. Discs that you often think of as your roller disc might make your best distance disc. So it's something to consider when we talk about the flight of the disc. Now, once we figure out how to have the disc fly, what an ideal disc flight is, and for me typically, like if I'm trying to throw this long bomb hole, I have to sort of cheat the fence. And I'm aiming, if I'm throwing from here, I'm aiming just a couple of these posts up, and I'm trying to throw over it, and get it to go and turn and ride out, because it's going to need that distance to be able to get that far. This is pretty far for me, not for Simon or Paul McBeth or some of those guys, but we got to be 550 or something out here, pushing it from the back. It's getting pretty deep out. So with that being said, getting something that can get really high, turn over, and fly for a long time before then it finally just fails. You don't want it turning left till the very, very last second, because as soon as it's turning left, it's dropping and it's dying, and you're losing that. So that's one thing. The second part is now maxing out your body to be able to generate that torque, and that can be that's a completely different issue. Maxing out your body now becomes a different thing. The biggest mistake that I made when I was a newer player was not releasing my head and allowing my shoulders and hips to turn. So I felt the need to look at the basket, right? It seems you guys probably know people that don't turn their head all the way, and when you're throwing here, well, this is about as far back as you can get. And I liken it to shooting a bow and arrow and just kind of pulling the bow to here as opposed to here, right? And that's obviously going to go way, way farther. That 6 inches transfers into 100 yards. Same thing with your hips and shoulders. So people that are leaving their head in, even people that maybe they'll let go of the target visually, turn their head a little bit, but still maybe only to here, not really letting. You watch somebody that grew up playing, like a little kid that grew up playing and now they're big, they're backwards. It's really the hips that you need backwards to the hole, because that's where it's all starting. I mean, it comes from the top up, but at some point for a real big shot, you want to be backwards. And it's like a ball golf swing, which at a club now, when they have it up here and they swing through and it comes back up, again, it does a whole circle, right? We do the same thing, yet on a horizontal plane. And so it's the same thing. Back here is basically the top of their swing. And this is going to finish through. This hand's coming back. we're doing that same circle just horizontally as opposed to vertically. So that's something to look at when you're maybe taking video of yourself, or you're watching, or if we're going to talk about form. You know, what's your follow through? Are you getting this hand back all the way around and over? So sometimes you'll see people like a short, kind of a choppy thing that not only are you going to hurt yourself that way, but it's the same as just grounding the club like that in a ball golf swing. So make sure that you're very fluid and following through. Now, another ball golf idea they have for distance is if you want to hit it farther, slow down. And I found that to be true for disc golf as well. That there's something about not only slow down, but kind of calm down too. If you can take a deep breath and really just let everything go loose, you're faster. You know, because any tension in your triceps, fighting against your biceps, not that you're using your bicep, but right? So any tension that you have in there is just going to slow you down. So to really be conscious of getting loose, noodle-ish, I'll think of it. You know, you don't want to drop the disc, but you'll have the right tension where you need it, but the rest of your body should be really loose. Breathing obviously is super key in that, you know, and then for a real successful distance shot, especially a disc golf distance shot where you want to score, is making sure you have a firm idea of where you want the disc to end up. And that's something that we find can be challenging sometimes for disc golfers when we get on a ball golf course, because we don't always have a target. If you can't reach the basket, it becomes very important that you pick a target, right? Out here, if you don't, there's water, there's things. Find yourself at the pro shop buying a brand new Glow Valkyrie. For me, I think the grip should be comfortable. You know, you need to be squeezing it pretty tight to throw it really hard. You know, it doesn't need to be tight till that last second now. Till that last second. Speaking of last second, let me just interject this and we'll go back to grip quickly. It reminds me of what we touched on earlier about the speed. It doesn't need to be fast until that last second. And you'll see Paul McBeth, he can throw so far, yet he has this like creeper thing, I call it, because he's like creeping up on the tee pad slowly, and he's like kind of slouched over, but his footwork is just so slow and focused and calculated. He's not running up. He doesn't have that thing you see people do. He's calm, he's cool, he's collected. He's not going to go flying off the end of a tee pad. And I would have to liken that back to some of the yoga training I have, where that's going to be very person and body specific, and there's not going to be a right answer. That 15-year-old kid that, you know, lives off sugar and, you know, can just go Energizer Bunny, he might be able to go out for hours a day, every day, you know, as long as your sugar is bad idea. You know, you're hydrating, you're getting your fuel, you're letting your body recover. Well, then you could go at it like you would probably any other exercise. Somebody else, you know, that might take a toll on them. You might feel it, you know, you start getting older or whatever's going on. That's a great question, and so I guess the answer is you'd have to listen to your body on that.
Thank you.
Listen to your body. Like most things, overdoing it won't help. I want to further answer a question about footwork. I don't think we dug into that all the way.
Okay, cool.
And it reminds me of something in that often when we talk about getting the disc back, I see people like thrusting it back, where it's not as much about that. It's almost as if the disc doesn't move, and if I was to leave, you know, this one on the ground, I can start this here, and the disc isn't really going anywhere for me to get in position, right? I'm wrapping around the disc isn't coming back. So that's something to be wary of. It's not thrusting it back, you're just kind of setting that bow, right?
That makes perfect sense. I like that analogy.
Yeah. With that being said, you guys want to throw some shots?
Yeah!
All right, let's throw some shots.